My name is Barbara Konatzer. I'm 33 years old. When I pulled into the circular driveway of the Grandview Resort and Spa, sunlight bounced off the marble pillars like a mirror, daring me to look at myself. The kind of place that smells like money before you even step inside. I parked my old Subaru behind a line of glossy black SUVs and Range Rovers that gleamed like they belonged there. Mine didn't. My brother Derek and his wife Brittany stood near the entrance, unloading their matching Louis Vuitton luggage. Their laughter floated across the airlight, rehearsed, and just loud enough for everyone to notice. When Derek spotted me, his smile faltered, replaced by that familiar mix of pity and annoyance. Really, Barbara, you actually came. I stepped out, dragging my modest black suitcase that had seen better days. Of course I came. It's Grandma and Grandpa's 60th anniversary. He exchanged a glance with Brittany before smirking. We just thought you'd have the sense to skip it. Brittany adjusted her sunglasses, her voice dripping with sweetness. Given the circumstances, I paused. What circumstances? Derek's laugh came out sharp. The circumstances where you can barely afford to be here. This place is $500 a night minimum, and that's before Dad's golf tournament, spa days, and wine tastings. I'm aware, I said quietly. He looked me up and down my cotton dress, my no-name shoes, the faint chip on my nail polish. Right. And last I checked, preschool teachers don't exactly make bank. I smiled faintly. You checked. He ignored the jab. You're going to stick out like a sore thumb all week, Barbara. Designer dinners, yacht cruises. What's your plan? Just sit in your room and count pennies. I have savings. Brittany laughed. The sound too loud. Savings. Oh, sweetie. That's adorable. The way she said it, like she was talking to a child, hit harder than I wanted it to. I straightened my posture. Listen, if my presence embarrasses you that much, I'll keep to myself. That's not how family reunions work. Derek stepped closer, his cologne heavy with citrus and superiority. There's a Holiday Inn 15 miles away. Much more your speed. You could still show up for the dinner on Saturday, no need to pretend you can afford the rest of this. I already have a reservation, I said evenly. Which you probably can't pay for, he shot back. Before I could respond, a familiar voice echoed across the lobby. Charlotte, our sister, appeared in a white sundress, her heels clicking like applause. Her expression fell when she saw me. Oh no, Barbara, what are you doing here? She has a reservation, Derek said. I'm trying to convince her to cancel it. Charlotte sighed dramatically and touched my arm. Her nails painted a careful shade of power red. Sweetie, did you talk to Dad? Because he specifically said he didn't think you should come. He didn't want you to feel pressured to spend money you don't have. My stomach twisted. Dad said that. Well, Mom said it first, but Dad agreed. She squeezed my hand. We love you, you know that. We just don't want you going into debt just to prove something. I met her eyes. I'm not proving anything. Then why are you here? Derek demanded. Seriously, Barbara, show us your bank statement. Prove you can actually afford to be here. I don't need to prove anything to you. See, because you can't, he snapped. And that's when I heard the voice that still had the power to turn me small. Barbara. My father stood in the doorway, golf shirt tucked perfectly, expression cold. Behind him, my mother hovered, concern etched across her face. We need to talk, Dad said. About what? He gestured vaguely toward me, my car, my life. About this. Charlotte had clearly run ahead to tell them. She was good at that, delivering news like she was doing you a favor. Your mother and I are worried, he continued. This place costs a fortune. We don't want you to bankrupt yourself trying to keep up with everyone. I'm not trying to keep up with anyone. Then why insist on coming to a resort you can't afford? He pressed. You could just come for the dinner. This, he waved around at the manicured fountains and glass walls, isn't your world. That last sentence hit like a slap. Mom stepped forward, eyes pleading. Honey, please. We don't want you to embarrass yourself or us. Find a motel, come to the dinner, that's enough. Embarrass them. There it was, the real fear beneath the fake concern. I looked at them, at Derek's smug smirk, Charlotte's pitying smile, Dad's judgment disguised as protection. For a moment, I wondered if I should fight back, explain, remind them that appearances aren't everything. But then I realized they didn't want truth. They wanted distance. Okay, I said softly. Dad blinked. Okay, I'll leave. You won't have to be embarrassed by me. Relief spread across their faces like sunlight. Mom even smiled. Oh, honey, thank you for understanding. We'll see you Saturday, no pressure, no stress. I nodded. Sure, Mom. I turned, walked back to my Subaru, and loaded my single suitcase. As I drove down the circular driveway, their laughter resumed behind me, effortless, carefree, like the confrontation had been nothing more than a minor inconvenience. Through my rearview mirror, the resort glimmered in the distance, glass gold and arrogance. They thought they'd gotten rid of me. They had no idea. Because while they were busy checking into their rooms, I was about to remind them who really owned the keys. The small cafe in town was quiet, its walls lined with old photos of the lake and wooden shelves filled with mismatched mugs. I sat by the window with a latte cooling between my hands, the soft hum of the espresso machine, the only sound breaking the silence. Outside the Grandview Resort shimmered across the water, elegant, towering, untouchable. I sipped my coffee, then opened my phone and scrolled to a familiar contact, James Hicks. My thumb hesitated for half a second before pressing call. He picked up on the first ring. "Good morning, Miss Konatzer." His voice was smooth, professional, but I could hear the undertone of respect. "James." I said, my voice steady. "I need you to pull up a reservation Konatzer family reunion under the name Gerald Konatzer." "One moment." The faint click of keys followed. "Yes, I have it here. 23 guests, booked through Saturday. Presidential suite, 4 luxury suites, 6 standard rooms." "Good," I said. "Flag it for owner review. I want updates on every charge, every activity, every complaint. Anything involving that group." There was a pause. "Is there a problem, Miss Konatzer?" "Let's call it due diligence." I could picture his frown even through the phone. "Understood. I'll notify the property director." I leaned back, letting my eyes drift toward the resort's reflection in the lake. The same place where my father had just told me, "You don't belong here." The irony was almost cinematic. James's voice returned, cautious now. "Margaret, the property director, just called. Apparently your father's already in the lobby. He's demanding to cancel a reservation under the name Barbara Konatzer. Claims the guest isn't coming and doesn't want to pay for an unused room." I smiled slowly. "Of course he is." "She's holding firm on policy," James continued, "but he's demanding to speak to her supervisor." "I'll handle it," I said. There was a pause. "You're coming here." "I own the place, James. I can come whenever I want." A low chuckle escaped him. "Fair point. I'll alert Margaret." When I hung up, I took another slow sip of coffee. The warmth spread through my chest like calm fire. The humiliation from earlier still lingered, but it had changed shape, solidified into something sharp, precise. Outside the window, a little girl was tugging at her mother's hand, pointing at the resort. "Mommy, that's where the princesses stay." Her mother laughed. "Not princesses, honey, just rich people." Rich people. I almost wanted to tell her that not all of them start that way. 3 years ago, I was just a preschool teacher who spent nights lesson planning and weekends cutting paper shapes for classroom walls. I loved it, but I also saw how broken the system was, how teachers worked themselves raw for salaries that barely covered groceries. So I started building something small, an app called Classroom Connect, a way for teachers to manage lesson plans, track behavior, and share resources. I worked on it at night, teaching by day, coding by moonlight, surviving on caffeine and hope. People laughed when I mentioned it. Derek said, "That's cute, Barbara, but no one's paying for a teacher app." Even my mother once asked. Gently, "Shouldn't you focus on something more practical?" But I kept building. Within 3 years, 12,000 schools were using my software. And one morning, a tech conglomerate reached out with an offer, an amount that made my hands shake so hard I nearly dropped the phone. I sold it. After taxes, I cleared $68 million. For months, I told no one. Not because I wanted to hide it, but because I didn't know how to say it without sounding like I was showing off. So I just kept being me. Driving my old Subaru, shopping at Target, saying I do consulting now when people asked what I did. When I bought the Grandview Resort chain, I'd pictured my family here laughing, connecting, maybe even proud. But deep down, I knew better. They never saw me for who I was, only who they assumed I'd always be. The cafe bell jingled as I stood and placed a tip on the counter. The barista smiled. "Have a good day." "Oh, I intend to." The drive back to the resort took 15 minutes. Each turn of the road seemed to strip away another layer of the timid teacher they thought I still was. By the time I reached the owner's reserved parking, that version of me was gone. Inside the staff wing, Margaret Chin, the property director, was pacing behind her desk phone, pressed to her ear. Her expression eased into relief when she saw me. "Miss Konatzer." "Thank goodness." James filled me in. "I'm so sorry about this, if I'd known that Gerald Konatzer was your father." "You handled it perfectly," I interrupted. "No apologies needed." She exhaled. "He's still in the lobby demanding to cancel your reservation. He's, well, loud." "I'm sure. Do you want me to call security?" "Not yet," I said. "Let's give them a show they won't forget." Margaret blinked. A show. Let's just say, I said, smoothing the front of my dress. It's time my family finally learns where they're standing. Her eyes widened slightly, but she nodded. I'll have the staff ready. As I stepped out of the office and headed toward the main lobby, the air seemed to hum with electricity. Each step echoed softly against the carpeted floor, the murmur of voices growing louder. I could already hear my father's voice, firm, authoritative, the same tone he used when scolding me as a child. It's absurd that a hotel won't listen to a guest spending $50,000 in a week. The clerk tried to speak, her voice trembling. Sir, I really can't cancel a reservation without the guest's authorization. You listen to me. I pushed open the glass doors and walked in. The entire lobby turned toward me. The air shifted. Now, I said calmly, stepping forward, I understand there's an issue with a room reservation. My father's face froze mid-sentence. He didn't know it yet, but the power dynamic of our entire family had just changed. The sound of my heels against the marble echoed softly as I crossed the lobby. My father stood near the front desk, his arms flailing in the air as he lectured the young clerk. My mother hovered beside him, wringing her hands. Derek and Brittany leaned against a marble column, watching like spectators at a show. Dad didn't even glance at me when I approached. Finally, he barked at the clerk. Someone who looks like a manager. Maybe you can talk sense into your staff. Mr. Conacher, the clerk, began, her voice trembling. I already told you. It's fine, Sarah, I said gently. She blinked, startled that I knew her name. You've handled this perfectly. Dad turned, irritation etched into his face. And who are you supposed to be? I'm here about the reservation you're trying to cancel. I kept my tone calm, measured. He crossed his arms. Then cancel it. The guest isn't coming, and I'm not paying for a room we don't need. I can't do that. He frowned. Why not? Because the guest who made the reservation is standing right here. The silence that followed was instant and heavy. Derek frowned. What are you talking about? I looked directly at my father. You can't cancel my room, Dad. His eyebrows shot up. What are you doing here? I thought you left. I did. I let the pause hang in the air. Then I came back. Why, he demanded, confusion twisting into frustration. Did you talk to management? Did you convince them to let you stay? I didn't need to convince anyone. He scoffed. You can't afford this place, Barbara. I'm not paying for your room. You want to be here so badly you can pay for it yourself. I am paying for it myself. Derek snorted. Oh, please. Just admit it. You maxed out a credit card, didn't you? I glanced toward the clerk, who looked like she wanted to disappear. Sarah, I said softly, can you pull up the ownership record for Grandview Resort? Her fingers flew over the keyboard. Yes, ma'am. Dad frowned. What are you doing? Just clarifying something. Sarah's voice shook slightly as she read the record aloud. Grandview Resort and Spa, owned by Grandview Luxury Resorts, LLC. Principal owner. She stopped, looked at me, then looked at my father. Principal owner, Barbara Elizabeth Konatzer. The silence was total. Brittany blinked. What? Derek's jaw dropped. That's not, Mom gasped softly. Owned by you? Yes. I folded my arms. I bought the Grandview Company 3 years ago. Dad's face turned pale. That's impossible. It's very possible. After selling my software company, I invested in hospitality real estate. This was one of my first acquisitions. Charlotte had just stepped into the lobby, stopping mid-stride. Wait, what software company? Classroom Connect, I said. An education management platform. About 40,000 schools use it now. I might as well have said I'd invented gravity. Derek laughed a short, nervous bark. This is some kind of joke, right? You a millionaire. I sold the company in 2022, I continued. Net profit $68 million after taxes. Brittany's eyes widened. Oh my God. Dad finally found his voice. You expect us to believe that you drive a junk car. You dress like a teacher. I was a teacher. I loved it. I still do consulting for schools sometimes. I just don't need to anymore. Mom's voice was small. But you never told us. I tried. I looked at each of them in turn. When I said I was doing consulting work, you said it was just a fancy word for unemployment. When I offered to help Charlotte with her business loan, she told me she didn't need pity money. When I mentioned I'd made some good investments, Derek told me not to waste my $100 on index funds. Each sentence landed like a stone dropped into still water, rippling through the room. Margaret, the properties director, appeared beside me, her posture formal but her eyes sharp. Miss Konatzer, she said quietly, would you like me to handle this? Not yet. Dad stared at me as if seeing me for the first time. You mean to tell me you own this place, this resort? And 6 others across the Midwest, I replied. So yes, Dad, you're standing in my lobby. The words hung there, electrifying the air. A couple nearby waiting to check in had stopped pretending not to listen. Even the bellhop had frozen mid-step. Mom pressed a hand to her chest. I don't understand. Why didn't you ever tell us? Because you never asked, I said softly. You just assumed. Derek let out a bitter laugh. This is ridiculous. You could have said something. I did, I said. More than once. But you all had already decided who I was. The poor one. The disappointment. The teacher who couldn't keep up. My father's mouth tightened. You're twisting things. We were just trying to protect you from embarrassment, I interrupted. You were trying to protect yourselves from having to see me as your equal. The lobby fell utterly silent again. Behind the front desk, Sarah stood straighter. Now, her earlier nervousness gone. She looked at me differently. Not as a guest, but as someone who belonged. Margaret cleared her throat. Mr. Conitzer, I need to inform you that hotel policy requires all guests to treat staff respectfully. The complaints made to the front desk have been noted. Per the owner's directive, your party has been flagged for owner review. Mom's head snapped up. What does that mean? It means I said evenly that every aspect of your stay will be monitored, charges, activities, interactions with staff. Any inappropriate behavior and your stay privileges can be revoked. Dad's voice cracked. You can't be serious. You're going to kick us out. We're your family. Family who told me I didn't belong, I replied. Family who tried to have my reservation canceled. He looked around the lobby, his voice lowering. Barbara, this isn't how you treat people. No, I said quietly. This is how you treat me. I'm just returning the courtesy. For the first time in years, none of them had anything to say. I turned to Margaret. They can stay, but the review flag remains. Yes, ma'am. I took my key card from Sarah, the metal edge cool against my palm. Room 412, Lakeview. She smiled faintly. Your usual suite, Miss Conatzer. I nodded. Thank you. As I walked toward the elevators, the air behind me buzzed, with their whispers, panic, disbelief, maybe a hint of shame. But I didn't turn around. For the first time, I didn't need to. The elevator doors closed with a soft chime sealing off the chaos below. I stood alone in the mirrored space, staring at my reflection. The same plain dress, the same quiet face, the same woman they'd dismissed as small and struggling. But this time the mirror showed something else to control. When the doors opened onto the 4th floor, Margaret was waiting just outside. Her expression torn between professionalism and awe. Miss Conatzer, are you sure you want to stay on site this week? I smiled faintly. I wouldn't miss it for the world. She exhaled relieved and maybe a little amused. Very well. I'll have extra staff discreetly available in case you need assistance. And I'll personally oversee all communication with your family's suite. Perfect, I said. And Margaret? Yes. Thank you for handling them with grace before I got here. She dipped her head. You've been good to your employees, Miss Conatzer. We're proud to have your back. When she left, I walked down the hallway toward my suite, the lake view gleaming through the tall windows at the end. But just before I turned the corner, voices drifted from the stairwell behind me, familiar sharp whispers. She's lying right, Derek's voice. There's no way she bought this place. Barbara can barely afford a new phone. Derek, she showed the records, Charlotte hissed. Her name's on everything. You saw it. Brittany's tone was bitter. Then why does she dress like a thrift store ad? Who hides being rich? That's just manipulative. Maybe she did it to make us feel guilty, Charlotte whispered. You know how sensitive she gets. My fingers tightened around the keycard. I could have walked away. I should have walked away. But their words pulled me backward in time, years of holidays spent being talked over jokes made at my expense, pity disguised as kindness. So I turned and pushed open the stairwell door. All three froze mid-conversation. Don't stop on my account, I said lightly. You were saying something about me being manipulative. Brittany's mouth opened, then shut. Barbara, we were just trying to understand. Understand what? How I became successful without your permission. Charlotte stepped forward, her face softening. We didn't mean anything bad. We were just shocked. You never told us any of this. I tried, I said evenly. Do you remember when I said I was consulting for schools nationwide? You laughed. Said that sounded like a fancy way of saying unemployed. Charlotte's cheeks flushed. I didn't mean it. Or when I offered to help with your startup. Derek and you said you didn't need charity money from your poor sister. He looked away. Okay, I might have said that, but come on, Barbara. You can't expect us to just process all this in 5 minutes. Why not you process judging me pretty quickly? The air between us thickened. For the first time, my voice didn't shake. You all decided a long time ago who I was. The one who didn't belong. the one who needed your approval. You never asked how I was doing, you just assumed I wasn't. Derek scoffed, defensive now. We were trying to protect you. That's what family does. Protect me, I repeated quietly. From what? From showing up. From existing in your perfect photo backdrop. No one spoke. Mom appeared, then standing at the top of the stairs. Her eyes were red, her voice soft. Barbara, honey, we didn't mean to hurt you. We just didn't want you to feel out of place. You told me I didn't belong here, I said, that I'd embarrass you. You didn't say it to protect me. You said it because you didn't want to be embarrassed by me. Mom winced, tears slipping down her cheek. That's not true, isn't it? Dad came up behind her, his posture rigid, jaw tight. All right, that's enough. We don't need to rehash every mistake we've ever made. I looked at him. You don't get to decide what's enough this time. He bristled. Watch your tone. I smiled faintly. That tone. That's the sound of boundaries. You might not recognize it because you've never heard me use it before. For a moment, no one breathed. Dad's eyes narrowed. You think money makes you better than us? No, I said softly. It doesn't make me better, but it does mean I don't need your approval anymore. The silence stretched long and heavy. Charlotte whispered, Barbara, we didn't know. If we had, you'd have treated me differently, I asked. Her mouth opened, then closed again. That's exactly why I never told you. The weight of the words lingered in the air like smoke. Down the hall, a bellhop passed, carrying a tray of champagne glasses. The soft clink of glass was the only sound. Finally, I took a step back, my voice calm again. You don't have to apologize. I don't expect you to. But you should understand something, the way you treated me before you knew I was rich. That's the version of you I'll always remember. Derek's voice cracked slightly. You're not really going to keep that owner review thing, are you? I am. That's petty. No, I said. That's accountability. I turned and walked to my suite and swiped the key card. The door opened with a soft click. Inside the room was flooded with sunlight. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the lake, the water shimmering gold. I set my suitcase down and exhaled slowly. The past few hours replayed in my mind each cruel word, each condescending smile. They'd tried to shrink me down to something they could pity. And now standing here, I realized I didn't need to make them feel small in return. They'd already done that to themselves. The sunset bled across the lake like spilled fire, gold fading into amber, into dusk. From my balcony, I could see families walking the resort paths below, laughing carefree, untouched by the kind of humiliation that changes how you breathe. I should have felt triumphant. After all, I'd just reclaimed my dignity in front of every person who'd tried to strip it away. But revenge never feels like you think it will. It doesn't burn, it hums quiet and steady right beneath your ribs. My phone buzzed on the table beside me. 6 unread messages in a row. Charlotte, Barbara, please. Can we talk, Derek? This whole thing is ridiculous. You're overreacting. Mom. Sweetheart, your father didn't mean what he said. Let's just have dinner and clear this up. Brittany. If you're really rich, why pretend to be poor? That's honestly manipulative. Dad. You will speak to me when I'm talking to you. This behavior is unacceptable. I stared at the screen for a long moment, then turned it face down. A knock came at the door. I hesitated, half expecting room service. But when I opened it, my mother stood there, clutching her purse like a shield. Barbara, she said softly, may I come in? I stepped aside. Sure. She walked in slowly, taking in the room, the view, the elegant furniture, the small touches I'd personally chosen when the resort was renovated. It's beautiful, she murmured. You really did all this? Yes. She turned toward me. You could have told us. I tried, I said. But every time I started, someone interrupted to tell me what I should be doing instead. She looked down. Your father. He doesn't handle being wrong very well. I noticed. She gave a small, sad laugh. He thinks he was protecting you from disappointment. We both did. By calling me an embarrassment. Her eyes glistened. We were wrong. Completely wrong. But we love you, Barbara. That never changed. Maybe I said quietly. But you only love me when I fit the picture you painted. The quiet, modest daughter who knows her place. She didn't deny it. She just looked tired. Do you really plan to keep that owner review thing active? It's humiliating. I met her gaze evenly. So was being told to leave. She flinched. After a long silence, she nodded slowly. You've grown stronger than I realized. I had to. When she left, I closed the door and leaned against it, my heart unexpectedly heavy. Love shouldn't have to survive this much damage just to exist. Later that evening, I went downstairs for a walk through the lobby. The same marble floor where I'd been told I didn't belong now reflected the soft glow of chandeliers a world I built yet once wasn't allowed to enter. Across the lounge, my father sat with Derek and Charlotte, drinks in hand, voices hushed but sharp. When he spotted me, he straightened. "Barbara," he called out. "A word." I stopped a few feet away, every eye in the lobby, pretending not to watch. "Yes, Dad." He gestured toward a seat. "Sit." "I'll stand." He sighed, irritation flashing. "Fine. I suppose this is what money does to people." "Money didn't do this," I said evenly. "Respect did, or rather, the lack of it." His jaw tightened. "You've made your point. You have more money than we thought. Congratulations. Now can we all just move on?" "Move on," I repeated. "You humiliated me in front of the entire family, and you want to move on like it was a misunderstanding." He leaned forward, voice low. "You're being dramatic. You think because you own this hotel you can lord it over us." "I don't need to lord it over anyone," I said. "I just want you to stop pretending I don't deserve to be where I am." Charlotte's voice cracked softly. "Barbara, please. We're all embarrassed. Okay, just stop making this worse." Derek scoffed. "Honestly, I think you enjoy this. Playing the victim until you can flip the script." I looked at him. "You think I wanted this moment, to have to prove my worth to the people who should have known it all along?" No one answered. "Don't worry," I said, stepping back. "I'm not here to ruin your vacation. I'll stay out of your way. You can enjoy your spa days, your yacht cruises, your perfect family photos. Just try not to insult any of my staff again." "Your staff," Dad muttered under his breath, bitterness thick in his tone. "You sound ridiculous." I smiled faintly. "Funny. I used to sound invisible to you." Then I turned and walked away, my heels echoing softly through the marble hall. Every step felt lighter than the last. When I reached the elevator, I caught a glimpse of them through the glass reflection. My family sitting in silence, faces tight with pride and confusion. For the first time, I wasn't the one shrinking under their judgment. Upstairs, I ordered room service steak, a glass of Merlot dessert I didn't need, but wanted anyway. As the waiter set the tray down, he hesitated. "Miss Konatzer, the staff just wanted me to say, it's nice working for an owner who actually stands up for us." I smiled genuine this time. "Thank you, Daniel. That means more than you know." When he left, I ate slowly, savoring each bite. They wanted me gone. Now they couldn't look anywhere without seeing me. And that I realized wasn't revenge, it was justice. The next morning, the lake was still. Pale mist floated above the water, curling like smoke over glass. I stood barefoot on the balcony, coffee in hand, watching the first rays of sunlight stretch across the horizon. For once there was no noise, no judgment. Just quiet, the kind that settles deep enough to feel like peace. My phone buzzed on the nightstand inside, but I didn't move to answer. I already knew who it was. They'd all texted last night until midnight, guilt dressed up as concern. "Charlotte. We need to talk, Barbara. Please don't shut us out." "Mom, your father isn't sleeping. He feels awful. Can we have breakfast together?" "Derek, you proved your point. Enough already. Dad. This childish behavior ends today. Come see me in the suite." I'd read them all before turning off notifications. Some apologies aren't meant for forgiveness. They're meant to soothe guilt. I set the mug down and let the wind brush my hair back. Down below, staff were preparing for the morning breakfast service, trays of fresh fruit, linen napkins folded into perfect fans. I knew every detail of this resort. Every decision, every color, every brick was something I'd chosen. It was mine. And for the first time, I allowed myself to feel it. A soft knock came at the door. Not sharp like Derek's would be, not hesitant like Mom's. This one was polite, rhythmic. "Come in," I said. It was Margaret, the property director. "Good morning, Miss Konatzer." "Morning. Everything running smoothly." "Better than ever," she said with a small smile. "Though, your family has been making quite the effort to behave. They even thanked the dining staff this morning." I almost laughed. "Progress, then." Margaret nodded. "They've also requested to book the private lake pavilion for a dinner tonight under your father's name, of course. He wanted to confirm if you'd attend." I took a breath. "Tell him I appreciate the invitation. But tonight I have plans." "Understood." After she left, I sat at the small desk by the window and opened my laptop. Dozens of new emails blinked on the screen, updates from my management team, quarterly reports, renovation proposals for another property. The world was still moving forward. I smiled. 3 years ago, I'd worked 12-hour days for a paycheck that barely covered rent. Now people waited for my approval. It wasn't the money that mattered, it was that I'd built something on my own terms. And I'd never needed to prove it to anyone, until yesterday. As the day went on, I kept to myself. Spa treatment in the morning. Lunch alone on the terrace overlooking the lake. A long swim in the heated pool where the staff smiled knowingly but didn't intrude. Everywhere I went, my family avoided my eyes. I caught them once across the garden, Derek whispering to Charlotte, Mom, standing awkwardly at his side, Dad pretending to check his watch. It was strange watching them shrink into discomfort while I finally stood tall. The balance had shifted, not out of spite, but truth. That evening, I walked along the pier as the sun began to set. Boats drifted lazily across the water lanterns, flickering to life one by one. The air smelled faintly of lavender and salt. I thought of Grandma and Grandpa, the reason we were all here in the first place. They'd taught me that success meant nothing if it turned your heart cold. I'd built a life that proved them right, not by fighting louder, but by staying quiet long enough to rise above the noise. When I reached the end of the pier, I sat on the wooden edge, my reflection rippling beneath me. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like the outsider in my own story. My phone buzzed again. A new message, this one from Mom. We just wanted to say, we're proud of you, truly. You deserve better from us. Dinner or no dinner, we love you. I stared at the screen for a long time before setting it down beside me. The sky was streaked in orange and violet, the lake catching every color like a mirror. Maybe one day I'd forgive them, but not tonight. Tonight was for me. I'd been told I didn't belong here, that I couldn't afford to be part of this world, that my presence was embarrassing. And yet here I was, sitting on the edge of a resort I rebuilt, watching the sun sink over everything they thought was out of my reach. I smiled to myself, quiet, certain. They told me I didn't belong, I whispered. But standing here, I finally realized I do. And maybe they never did. The wind carried the words across the water, soft and sure. Somewhere behind me, laughter rose from the dinner pavilion my family pretending for now. But I didn't turn back. I'd already said everything that needed to be said, because the truth wasn't loud or angry. It was simple. I had found my place, and it wasn't with them.